It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to you on your Monday morning, the feel-good edition of your feel-good breakfast show. That's how we get your week started off. And of course, when you hear that doodling, you see that like button there, that heart, you know it's relationship talk time, and that's what we're all about right now. Now, most people consider the relationship progression to happen in a structured way. You meet each other, then you court each other and date, and then when the time feels right, you'll then discuss things like commitment to a partner or with each other. But as we all know, sometimes life isn't as simple and as well planned as that. And you may be stuck not knowing whether you are in a committed relationship with someone or not. Are you in a situationship, as some people like to call it? How do we define it? What's the label we put on this?
It's complicated.
Some people choose that too.
So today we're asking, how do you know when you should commit to your partner? Are you together with someone you are not sure you're in a relationship with? Well, Dr. Eve is in the building to help us discuss this hot topic, and we would love to hear from you, hear your questions, hear your comments as well. This is a safe space. So why don't you head over to our Facebook page, drop a comment in the post, and we'll be sure to engage with you live.
Yeah, Dr. Eve, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised to see that a lot of people, in fact, I think 55% of the people that you asked on Twitter were saying that they're actually quite proud to say that they're in a committed relationship.
Oh, wow.
That's the label. Sorry, I'm only doing that because that was the bar. You know what I mean? That they chose, that they clicked on.
You not.
Well, might as well. But so people are all about labeling relationships, right? It's very important to them. Why is that so important to label a relationship?
Yeah, we want to feel kind of safe in situations that we're in. And so people find a label of kinds, and then they feel, okay, now I can relax and I know that I've caught this person. Because what people really want to know is that I can trust this person, and this person, which means they'll be monogamous, they'll only be sexually exclusive with me, and that also this person's not going to leave me. So they imagine that if I kind of lock it in that way, that ensures or assures me that I'm now in this thing called a relationship. Because we still unfortunately live in a space where we idealize relationships and we think if we're in one, our lives are going to be better. It's kind of like the princess and the prince situation. And that makes us feel as if we are now safe and we can get on with life. Yeah. It also changes things substantially for people. And I'm really curious to hear from the viewers, which is why the poll is there, to find out what feels better for them. And let's get honest.
Yeah.
Let's get down and dirty and honest around this topic. Are you in a relationship that really serves you well, or are you in a relationship because you just want the label of being in a relationship? Yeah, because I think also that oftentimes people stay in a relationship because they like the label more than they like the relationship. And today we have a whole variety of relationship titles or labels that I'd really like people to tell us what their relationship label is and why they stay in it. Because the moment that you're in that, we kind of go into a drop-down menu immediately of expectations. And this is what we now expect from you. I mean, it was really interesting. I was working with somebody recently in my therapy room. He was telling me they'd lived together with their partner for something like 9 years. And they got married. And she said from the day they got married, things changed.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I hear this really often, and there's research around this as well. I said, you know, and what kind of things changed now that you changed the label of your relationship? And she said, well, suddenly he kind of got quite demanding. And he kind of got into this traditional role of this is what you are, you're the wife, and you've got to stop working, and we're going to have some kids, and you're going to have to look after the kids, and she had to give up her career. And he suddenly became the man, and he got into a new business, and he began to feel this primitive instinct of, you know, needing to provide and to protect. And so their relationship just went like that.
Oh, wow.
Went like that, and the sexuality stopped, the intimacy stopped, and all she wants is just to kind of go back to how it was. So there is real definite changes that happen when we change our label. We'll talk more about the difference between a no-label relationship and a labeled relationship.
Exactly.
And love the viewers to tell us their experiences of that.
Exactly, and also why it's so important that both people in a relationship understand what stage of the relationship
Very
they're
important.
In. Yes, more with Dr. Eve after this.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It's Monday. Monday, so we're talking relationships, and today our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, is in the hot seat to help us discuss what we should be discovering, or rather considering, when we decide to commit to a partner. Now, we would love to hear your questions and your comments, so you can head over to our Facebook page, drop us a comment in the post, and we will engage with you. It's all about relationship labels, and before we went, I wanted to know, how important is it for both partners in the relationship to know exactly at what stage the relationship is at?
So we're in a generational phase now, which is no love. This is kind of what the theme is of this generation. Millennials, from the millennials going downwards, I mean, Generation Z, Generation X, even worse so. They don't want to be labeling themselves into, I'm catching feelings for you. You're not supposed to catch feelings, and if you do catch feelings, then the whole thing has to end, because that's not what we're supposed to be feeling right now. And yet it's the absolute antithesis of instinct of how we are as human beings. We long to connect. We long to feel safe. And the one way we feel safe is by labeling a relationship into this commitment, locking it down. I'm repeating, we want to lock it down, and we want to feel the safety of that experience. But we're not allowed that vulnerability today. It's not seen as being cool. And so people feel quite scattered and quite messy in relationships. So you ask about the commitment. When one person feels I am committed and the other person is not really sure what that is, or there's a deliberation of we are not going to be committed. And it has some benefits to it.
Really?
Yeah, it has benefits.
What kind of benefits come with
because
not
the
being
moment
committed?
that you put this label of we're in a relationship or we're a couple, friends and family totally treat you differently. I'm sure you've both had that experience. The minute you're in a relationship, like then you get invited to dinner parties, then you like people you haven't seen for years.
Other married people.
Now you're expected to be at dinner parties. You're
That's
expected
true.
to be at
But
at a
also
Sunday
other
lunch
married
type of
couples
thing.
also invite you.
Yeah.
Where before they were just like, no, that girl needs to stay at home. You know, it's like
100%.
we were friends to
100%.
start off with.
So that puts some pressure on you as well. And it also puts pressure on what you expect from each other, obligations, I said earlier, of what you have of each other. That includes more sexual frequency, more sexual contact, goes into sometimes the traditional roles, which I explained to you earlier on as well. So it can be quite cumbersome to have this label on you.
Yeah. I've got a question.
Yes.
Because you've dropped some gems. You're talking about, the scroll down menu of expectations. Why is it that when the label changes, the expectations change? I mean, you were talking about that example of what you've encountered in practice where this couple were doing great and then they decided to get married, and when they got married, things changed. The relationship was no longer the same. Why do we do that?
We're going to the traditional role because I don't think we're creative enough, Kat. I think we're creative enough to say, well, actually, we now have this thing called a relationship. Let's move away from what the imagery says or the movies or the media says it has to be, or what our parents have done in the past. And what can we create? Because what do people really long for in a relationship? We want to feel held. We want to feel as if we belong and that we're safe. But we also want freedom, which is why people commit to infidelity, because they long for that just little private place they can creep into the corner and have a little thing on their own and still feel the freedom and not so trapped in with each other. So that's an important part of actually defining a relationship in any way you want to, being creative with it without having to have the burden of the label. Don't let the label be a burden for you. We want to feel safe. And oftentimes, couples become couples without having to call it a relationship. So let's look at some of the criteria of what would make a relationship.
We're going to take a look
come
at that
back.
after the break, because I'm still stuck on that corner that you were talking about and the freedom leading to that corner.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, so we'll ask the question after the break.
Right.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with your Feel Good Breakfast Show.
It's my feel good breakfast show.
Back, it is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Dr. Eve's got the giggles. Because we're talking about a rather, it's not a giggle-worthy topic, but with regards to relationships, it's about labeling relationships and why things change when the label of the relationship changes. If you guys were happy the way that you were and you were moving steadily towards, let's say, that commitment, why is it when you give it that official commitment tag, things change. What's going
la,
on in
la,
our
la,
psyche?
la.
What's going on social media?
Well, let's head to social media where we asked you the question, do you know when you should commit to your partner for the long run? Today we are chatting to Dr. Eve about commitment, lifelong partners and everything in between. Let's check out. Ndile says, I'm 24 and he is 38. We are living together, but he's not ready. He has a mind of a teenage boy. I can't do it anymore and I don't believe in love. That's quite interesting. Another one says, Sanele, you should commit to your partner when you really know the person deep down and know everything about their true identity. Powerful. And then Suzanne says, I'm interested in someone who is hot and then cold. I'm thinking he's not really into me. Please help.
Oh, that's so sore, that one.
That's
hot
it.
and cold and
Hot and
unpredictable.
cold,
So maybe
yes.
he's catching feelings. This is Susanna. Maybe he's
Susanna.
catching feelings and he doesn't want to be, tied down. Yes.
So
yes,
is
go.
it then where the partner needs to go and have a conversation, a very candid one with said partner and say, we need to put a label
We
on
need-
this relationship?
We need to tie this
is
thing
that,
down.
Is that when
Yeah,
it's
but
supposed to happen?
think about why is it that we don't do this talk? Because we're afraid. What are we most afraid of as humans?
Rejection.
Thank you. We're afraid of rejection. So this generation or us now have learned that it's not okay to even begin that conversation because we don't have a right to, because the fear of risking heartbreak is so big that it actually overtakes any kind of need for commitment and feeling safe. And that's what makes me feel most sad, is that we're afraid of stepping in to that, into that, what I call that circle.
You're always
and
one foot in,
risking
one
it.
foot out. Yeah.
That's the hot and the cold.
Yeah.
I want to be there, but I don't. But I want to say to her and to anyone else who's engaging in that, you don't have to take that. You don't have to have the conversation. You have the conversation. You say, look, I am not tolerant of this. I am not confident. I'm not feeling good about this kind of relationship. And so it's not his choice. Either I'm in or out. I'm telling you that I'm not going to be in because it feels too unsettling for me to be in. You just
And then
can't-
be secure enough then in yourself to go,
Thank
I'm
you. 'Cause
going to
that's
step
the
out
thing. Some
and
people-
I
Thank
am
you.
like I'm actually making the choice to
Thank
let
you,
this go.
Kat.
I'm not asking you
100%.
whether you want to or
Right.
not.
And I'm so pleased that you said that and not Leanne or I, because it's usually the woman who's still standing back and still waiting for the man to make the choice or the decision, I'm in or I'm not. Because we still have this belief that men have to be the one to say, first, I love you, or men have to be the one to say, will you be in a relationship? Or, I mean, what is this thing about men
Or
having
even
to
the
propose?
dependence on the man to be the provider. Because I think once you've handed over that role and now you're so dependent on it, to walk away with nothing, once you've been accustomed to a certain way of life, is even harder.
Well,
You know?
we never want that for women.
Never,
'cause it
never,
traps
never.
them into relationships that are unhappy or unhealthy for them as well.
100%.
Okay. So we need to take a break. So we really want to think about the story of labels. I think that this is an unrealistic expectation to be in a situation where you don't catch feelings. We want people to catch feelings. I want people to catch feelings. It's beautiful to catch feelings. It's beautiful to feel the pain and the ache of love and the pain and the ache of rejection. And you got to take the risk of that. Otherwise, it's just too lonely. And when we're lonely, we become depressed and very unhappy. So we want people to really find their space and be creative with the label.
Yeah. All right, we're going to delve into a little bit more of that creativity and how you can hopefully make it easier for yourself to function in your relationship with Dr. Eve in a second.
It's my feel good breakfast show.
Talking relationships and labeling them, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? How much choice do you have in making this decision? Maybe let's focus on that.
Well, we've got a poll. We've got a poll quickly.
Yes,
Can
yes,
we-
yes.
It's currently on Twitter. The poll says, Dr. Eve is asking how you want to label your relationship. And this is what people are saying. 53% are saying you label your relationship as committed, 6% as dating, 11% as friends with benefits, and then 30% no label.
That's
so
quite
committed,
impressive.
no label,
Yeah.
friends with benefits, and dating coming in last.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. And I'm wondering, no label, whose decision is that? As we were saying earlier on, is it one or is it both? Or is it somebody who they've decided together they don't want the obligations and commitments that come with a label? But the commitment one is what one would expect.
Exactly.
People want to feel that. They want to feel safe and secure in a relationship.
And you know where you're going.
What is a no
Well,
label?
I don't know if we know where we're going, because that's
Yeah,
where I
but
think
also-
people have a problem,
Yeah.
is that they then go into the escalator relationship, where we start out, as you started out the show talking about, Kat, we start out with the dating, and then we know the next step is when we
Yes.
court, and then we date, and then we're going to get engaged, we're going to get married, we're going to have some kids, we're going to live together. I mean, that's gone. We know that. We've spoken about it on the
Okay.
show
Yeah.
before. That doesn't happen anymore. But we want to have in whatever we've created a feeling. We want the feeling of being safe with this
Yeah.
person. And this person is going to be there. And this person is going to be spending weekends with us. And this person is going to just be on your phone and be available and reciprocating and be present.
Is it fair to say that relationships may start as no label, but eventually
Yeah, yeah.
people will catch feelings, they will feel a need to be secure in a relationship. So at some point or another, you are going to have to label it, right? May we
Right.
say that?
Well, I'm going to just contradict you one thing. People do catch feelings.
Yes.
They
Yes,
just
yes,
don't-
yes.
They just don't want to talk about it. And then it can't be sustained. It can't be in a stasis where nothing happens.
Yeah.
Things have to be shifting. And one person is going to push the other one to shift it in a direction until somebody like says, okay, we're now in this thing called a relationship, or we're going to kind of be engaged. And everyone like, oh, we can take a breath. And then it's like, okay, now we expect to spend every weekend together. Now we expect to have sex more frequently. And it's like, oh, I'm so unhappy. Let me have some infidelity on this.
Oh, wow.
I'm giving a very dark picture of what it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want people to feel safe in a relationship, and for both people to have equal rights to be able to say, I want something more.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
more could
yeah.
be a label, it could be a ring, it could be some kind of sign that you are with me, I can trust you, we're going to be sexually exclusive, and that you're not going to leave me.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right,
Well,
Dr.
there you
Eve,
go.
thank you very much for joining us once again. We appreciate your voting on the poll and all the lovely comments. Do keep them coming.
Yeah.
And it also helps us just kind of get our heads thinking about our next topics of conversation as well.
Exactly. Well, of course, we all need to be willing to adjust our individual parts so that relationships can thrive, but we also need to be wary of holding a person to a partnership that might not fulfill them. It's not easy to devote one's heart, mind, and soul to someone else, but couples who successfully make it happen could not consider living any other way. So, all the best.